We knew that the hog and the turkey were committed. So are you involved or are you committed? So the idea of having commitment, we heard the mayor talked about how things are coming along in our city. We also heard Pastor Draper talk about how important it is to talk about diversity. The mayor talked about community. What is community? What is commitment? All these words are important. The presence that we have here today, will it resonate tomorrow? And what will it be? I had an opportunity to be here with my good friend Pastor Harrison on numerous occasions and meet with the mayor, meet with the chief and Sheriff Dudley, the prosecutor, and a group of young men who were very rarely, I have to give you credit, Muncie, because you've done something very few cities, large cities have done in decades. You brought people in who were from the street into a meeting with the mayor to sit down to talk about issues. You brought concerned clergy in. You brought the business community in. You brought prosecutors in. You brought law enforcement in. And you weren't forced to do it. You saw an opportunity. You took it and you ran with it. Why that's important? As much as we may disagree, as some may say it should not happen, you have to take it and strive. You have to understand that everything is happening in this town and happening in our country begins with individuals in this room. I said it begins in with you last time I was here. I'm saying it more so now. I come from a small city. Small cities will make the difference for larger cities we're in now. We're currently in. I'm in. And Indianapolis being one. I can tell you, from being from Baltimore, I can tell you that I see it when I go back. There's a different feel after Freddie Gray. I can tell you what it feels like to almost have a near riot as a police chief. I can tell you it was community who stood with me in the 11th hour. So when the mayor called and assembled and asked 10 Point and all of us to come together and look at best practices around the country, that's historic. Very few mayors do that. Now, it ain't about politics with me. It's about understanding when you catch something going right, you got to say something about that. Not everything is going to be right, folks, and not every day is always going to be a good day. But just like that liquid sunshine we walked in to get in here today, that some rain was going to fall. So the question becomes, when you have the opportunity to make a difference in the time God gives you, the short time we're on this earth, what are you going to do with that time? And I came by today to say I'm happy to say that I've seen some things happen. I saw some things coming in. I saw some billboards. I saw some things happening. I heard some things. I've seen some positive steps that law enforcement has taken in dealing with some issues. But now it comes back to you, how we save that which we believe we want to save. What do we want? What we see today is nothing compared to what we saw 4 years ago, and what will it be 4 years hence? So what are we willing to put our money, time, and energy into? What are we going to do in our corporate sector? What are we going to do in our private sector? What are we going to do about the drug trade? What are we going to do about those who come from out of town who want to set up shop here? What will we do with education in our community? Are we concerned about that? Enough to roll up our sleeves and go outside our comfort zone and allow people to come into the room who may have transgressed against us yesterday, and today they're asking, can we help turn it around? Can we allow that to happen? Is it okay to have a conversation with that 1% of the population that we call 1%ers who are involved in crime and sometimes violent crime? Only 1 or 2% make up that population, by the way. Are we willing to allow them to be in a room and make suggestions and ideas about how to turn this around? Do we think it's robbery to have them walk the streets in the neighborhoods which they reach carnage and created problems? Are we allowing them to do that? Or will we allow them to do what we support? Or do we want to sit back and wait for somebody else to do it for us? I don't know about you, but the last 8 years or 10 years or 12 years or 14 years have been slowly moving the power back to the states in terms of resources. States' rights are becoming very plain to me that it's opportunities there if you seek it. But the opportunity is that you have to roll up your sleeves and recognize we have to share the resources we have, because no one's going to save us but us. IBE understands that because Pastor Williams way back when saw the opportunity to bring people together. But I am concerned about one thing, having been in statewide positions now, that Indianapolis is not the beginning and the end of Indiana, by the way. There is a larger state. You're part of it. And I'm glad you separate yourself from that, because it's important to talk about our state capital, but there are good things happening in communities around the states that I travel and have an opportunity to see. One of the things I did bring from Baltimore, I think that really came from Indiana, was a small town mentality. What I mean by that is I understood that coming from Gary, being part of Indiana, the framework was about family and communities. So when we did investigations, I taught my officers that basically you look at every situation from a relationship standpoint. Who are they connected to? Who's their sphere of influence? And how many people do they impact on a daily basis as a power of one? So I'm saying that to you. What's your sphere of influence? How many people can you impact? How many lives do you touch? And how you make that contagious is very important. On the negative end, I've seen it on my whole career. I've seen one individual become a one-man crime wave during the summertime. He's 16 years old, nothing else to do, didn't have a summer job. But he committed more armed robberies, more carjackings, more cab robberies, more pizza delivery robberies than anyone else in his neighborhood. And we thought it was a whole crew. Turned out to be one individual. And when we sat him down and finally called him and sat him down, he said, we asked him why he was committing these robberies. He said, because I had nothing to eat. And I forgot that. I never forgot that story as a sergeant. So when I came to Indianapolis and we were dealing with this whole issue of robberies, street robberies, carjackings, I said, this is familiar. So I went to the mayor's office, went to the Department of Recreation and asked, listen, if we did a lunch program in certain neighborhoods, and I'll give you the demographics in the neighborhoods and the geographical areas, would you be willing to help fund some of that? And they said, sure, why not? Well, that summer we did that. By the fall of that year, when we looked at the numbers, robberies of carjackings and pizza delivery robberies dropped 25 to 30% by feeding the community. So just sharing the resources in a small area, it was a small geographical area, made a tremendous difference in the lives of the people in that area. So it's a misnomer to think we can't make a difference. We can. But we have to be willing to share what we have, whether it be intellect, expertise, or resources. The other thing I'll say this, and as I take my seat, is looking at you as a community right now, and I look around the diverse faces in this room, who else should be in the room with us? Who's missing? Who else should be rolling up their sleeves alongside you? Who has the expertise or the willingness to say, you know what? I know for a fact that in my area that I've seen a change take place where we used to have houses, now we have renters. Nothing wrong with that because there's a segment of millennials who are not buying houses, they're renting. But am I seeing a change of our values? Though I used to hold here near and dear, things that we used to be able to do, we can't do anymore. Whatever that might be, only you would know. Is it for the better or for the worse? If it's for the better, that's great. We want to encourage you to stay here, but if it's not, we have to ask you to move on. And with the help of law enforcement and those who are in positions and the prosecutor, we could do that. But at the same time, I want you to encourage people to be a part of this community and stay. 14 to 24-year-olds, tell you a little bit about them for a minute. Only 1/3, 1 out of 3 attend church. And less than 25% watch it by way of television or video or social media. Why is that important? Spiritual souls, spirituality is important. Being connected to something greater than yourself is important. Having a sense of value is important. That's what we're seeing. Another statistics are happening in our neighborhoods where crime is increasing. Churches across the country are finding it difficult to maintain parishioners in urban neighborhoods where crime is prevalent. I have a church further north who told me not too long ago he's lost 30% of his parishioners in the last year or two. The question is, what can we do to help law enforcement maintain those communities? What his question was. The other thing I learned in my own community, my own home church, that as our children get older and we get older, if things are not safe in the communities where they live, they don't buy our houses, folks. They don't buy our houses. Second thing they don't do, and it's really hurtful, they don't take us to church. I got a little gray now. I like my son and my daughters to take old dad to church my home church where I grew up. But they told me, son, dad, we go there and we park our cars and it's not there when I come out, I'm not coming back. If they break the windows out of my car and it's still my laptop, or they take my radio, they break in my car, period, Dad. I don't want to come back and my car not be there or damaged, my car is damaged. I don't want to come in a community where I feel like I may be robbed. I don't want to be in a community where people can't go to the corner store. because there is no corner store. Or the local supermarket becomes food deserts. There's a trickle-down effect when we look at these things. It's not your fault. It's our collective responsibility to make sure we replace it with something positive. Things change. Corporations come and go. But it's upon all of us to make sure we put something in place that is a legacy. I could talk about my city of Gary with my high school, where my family went to school, in Frable High School, where I went to junior high school. And Frable was a known high school other than Roosevelt, Gary Roosevelt, the Roosevelt High School. My colleague from Roosevelt sitting down the other end. 67, Roosevelt Panthers. I can tell you that today they hold a large picnic. 500,000 people show up at Frable High School on a lawn where the school used to sit. So schools and institutions are very important. You have to fight for that. We have to fight for things we want to see change in our neighborhood, but most importantly, we have to fight for the lives of our young people, 14 to 24, who are leaving our cities in droves. We have to have a legacy for them. They are understanding the values that we hold near and dear. They have to see something in it for them. We have to find a way to keep them employed. I implore you to continue to fund the summer program. I implore you to find resources for young people to be gainfully employed. I implore you to bring on the institutions like Ball State to be part of the education component. I implore you to continue to do the things you know are right, supporting the administration, trying to do the things, I think, in terms of giving people jobs and opportunity here in Muncie. That's important. Because he leave and we don't always come back. It took me 32 years to return to Indiana. 32 years. I'm sorry I was late. But at the time, my dad in 68 was having a problem finding employment. In 68. And we ended up on the East Coast. Now I'm back home now. He's not doing well, so I may have to go back there. I'm trying to bring him back home, but the doctors may disagree with us right now. He's not doing well. Keep him in prayer. But all of us are going to end this journey somewhere. We just don't know when, or how. But all of us have a responsibility to the person next to us. Because we're going to face, ladies and gentlemen, what we create. We're going to face it one way or the other. And I hope you're around 25 more years, IBE. Mr. Mayor, continue to do the great work you're doing. Community, continue to work together. Law enforcement, you know I have your back. I'll continue to walk the streets with you. 10 Point is always going to be there. I've talked to Reverend Harrison about that. We support what you're doing here, but don't stop, because this will be the example. This has become my second home. I believe that Muncie will be the example for the rest of the state, if not the nation, in terms of how you go about bringing people together, diverse communities, and bringing about change. Thank you for letting the old timers share for a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for nourishing our minds. You know, we had our lunch and we nourished our bodies, but you've nourished our minds. And now we have to digest it. We have to figure out what it is that we're going to do. Not just say it, but we have to do it. And thank you for reminding us. Thank you for coming back. I remember 4 years ago, we did some work, but there's still much more to do. We've got great people here. The power of one is very strong, so thank you. Let's give him another hand. When we first began, I forgot to introduce all of the people here at the front table. Most of them have already come to the microphone, but there are two others that I did not recognize, and I want to make sure that you all know Demetrius D. Harris, who is our state representative for the state office at Indiana Expo. And Brother Shaka Griffin, who is the family and youth, the youth and family coordinator for our local chapter. So let's thank them for their service. Now I'd like to bring to the podium Watasha Barnes Griffin, who serves as our president for our local chapter of Indiana Black Expo. This woman is everywhere, all the time, with a smile on her face, with determination in her heart. And I don't know how she does all that she does, but we are happy that she serves as our president. She's doing a great job, so let's welcome her now as she comes.
Thank you, Dr. Bailey, for that warm welcome, but she asked how I do it. I get it from her, okay? So I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you to Chief Height for being here and being willing to speak. And to all of you for supporting the work that we do, and to the roster here, I just say thank you. We could not do what we do without your help. And to our mayor here, he is like the best mayor ever. Like whenever we need, whatever we ask, we just want to go in his office and cry or whine or fuss. He is like right there to support us. And I do want to say that everything that Chief Height said is completely true. We do take those times to meet with mayor and clergy and officers and Dudley, and to sit down and say, what can we do for our community and for our youth? And so that is the mission of the Muncie chapter of Indiana Black Expo. It's to be an effective voice and vehicle for the social and economic advancement for African Americans. And our vision is that every African American youth and family will achieve their highest potential and reflect pride in their ethnicity. And so that is the work that we do. We love our community, and we're out there, boots on the ground, trying to serve. And someone asked earlier, what do you do with the money that you raise? We give it back. We support other programs in the community. We give that money to organizations, Uni Center, and to anyone that is doing work that benefits and uplifts youth. We want to invest in that. We give scholarships. That's what we do. And you'll see that today. But our work is to make sure that there are opportunities for our community, for our youth, 14 to 25, those who are struggling and don't have hope. We want to be there working with them to ensure that they do have that hope. But hope is more than just some words. We actually have to, Mayor Tyler, we need some jobs for African Americans. What are we gonna do? And he's like, well, Tasha, let's meet. So we go in the office and we have those hard conversations, and we try to find who in the community will support that work. We want to be that voice, and we want to make sure that we continue to raise up youth and folks that can be proud of who they are and where they come from. But that takes money and that takes support, and so I thank you. I have the opportunity today to present a couple of awards. This is our 25th annual luncheon, and so the theme is culture, heritage, and community. So there are a couple of individuals every year that we kind of identify as champions for us, who work with us and support the things that we do. And so the first award is called the Volunteer Citizenship Award. And this award is given to someone who works with us side by side, but we see them not just helping Muncie chapter of Indiana Black Expo, but they are helping in the community. Their hands are busy doing things to uplift and support